morning. It's Friday, and it's McCollum on Business. 7 a.m., we're live here on YouTube. TME Media AZ is where you can find our programming, and we are excited to be here on this Friday. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the market and business. We're going to look at the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, plus all the local and national stories that you need to know. Let's get right into it with the Market Watch. Everything's headed to a winning week here overall, but like I said, it's been kind of as we've told you all week at least, it's been kind of a stock market with all of these inflationary reports coming out. Today we got a retail report, and not good on that side. A weak one there. We'll talk about that as our first story coming up. But right now, the Dow Jones is down the 51 points to 53,813. The S&P 500's up 1 point to 7805 right now. The Nasdaq's only up 7 points. It's at 26,810. The small cap index, the Russell 2K, up 7 points to 3,060. Well, then there's Bitcoin, right? Under 63,000 today, folks. 62,544 is what it's at right now. Officially down 885 points roughly here today. But again, falling under that 63,000 level for Bitcoin right now. What's happening out there? Well, the Strait of Hormuz situation and the Iran situation, still waiting for that to be resolved. They kept, saying that a deal was imminent. Deal never came. Oil prices have leveled out here these last few days. I'll also tell you, 10-year Treasury yield, little change here today. There's a lot of watching of that because of the retail sales data that came out this morning. That was weak. Well, 10-year Treasury yield, little changed as of now, at least here on the market as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, we'll look at Reddit first off. The social media platform, and it's up 14.60% right now. S&P Dow Jones indexes, let's say, they said Reddit would join the S&P 500 coming up here. It's going to start August 18th. Well, Reddit will replace Avalon Bay Communities on that S&P 500. Anytime you get added to a listing or an index, your stock generally goes up on that day. Reddit up 14.59% right now on the market. And then next up, couple of interesting stocks here. There's an online furniture retailer called Wayfair. That's what we're looking at right now. They're up today 2.76%. Well, they're getting an upgrade from Bernstein, that investment company. They're upgrading them to outperform. Before they were at market perform levels. Well, here's the exact quote from the statement put out by Bernstein. Quote, in a furniture market that is not growing, Wayfair is putting up high single-digit revenue growth in the United States, unquote. That's why the analysts upgraded them to outperform. And that is interesting. Wayfair outperforming what, quite frankly, is a tough market to be in, furniture sales right now. And then software company for Workday we're going to take a look at today. And this is the stock that a lot of people are watching today. Why? Well, yesterday it was up about 18% yesterday. That was its best day in about 10 years, by the way. So why was it up 18% yesterday? Today it's down 2.92%. So a little bit of a sell-off. But Reuters reported yesterday that a private equity firm, the Silver Lake private equity firm, they're in talks to buy the company. So they shot up 18% yesterday. Today, 2.91% down here in early market trading. Even with that news, no news has come out whether Silver Lake's looking at them or not, other than the Reuters report. But a little bit of a sell-off today based off of that news. When we come back later and look at stocks, we're going to look at Applied Materials. They're a semiconductor manufacturing equipment maker. We're going to look at their stock, Fox Corporation. They announced that deal with Roku. So we'll look into that stock as well. And then SanDisk. I was looking into memory stocks yesterday afternoon, and I was shocked to see what SanDisk has done for the year. They're also making waves on the market here today, so we'll take a look at them as well coming up later in the program. But first, I told you that spending report is out this morning, and, well, You probably are one of the people that have done this since it happened a lot. Yeah, Americans unexpectedly cut their spending in July. Well, why? Those tax refunds we know were fading. We started to see those numbers fade. Well, you've already spent those tax refunds you got from that one big, beautiful bill. Yeah, when you did your taxes. And that's why retail sales, they're down 0.6% in July, the biggest drop since May of 2025. Now, was it a revised gain of 0.2% in June as well? We get all these numbers from the Commerce Department and was released early this morning. Now, there was a notable bump, as we know, back in spending back in April and May. That was because the tax refunds started getting doled out and you started spending that money. Well, ended probably end of May, beginning of June, and definitely all gone in July is what everybody's saying. Why the numbers are down. Now, if you want to exclude sales at gas stations and even at auto dealers, retail sales in July fell 0.2%. Gas prices did bounce back in recent week, and what appears to be, that what's going on over there, I should say, in the Strait of Hormuz area. So gas prices coming back a little bit. Now, gas prices did tick higher overnight to $4.08 per gallon nationally, average. It was at $3.85 just a month ago. We get those numbers from AAA. That's 92 cents per gallon, roughly, if you do the math, than you were paying last year at this time. July's retail sales, they were dragged down by business at motor vehicle and parts dealers. They saw a 1.8% drop in those categories. It was a 1.9% increase in June. So basically, a huge reversal here in those categories. June sales were helped by automakers' promotion incentives at that time. But then, electronics and appliance sales also declined 0.5% in July. Online sales, they fell 2.2% from June. Don't forget, in June, right, they moved up the Amazon's Prime Day event. And so the June numbers, late June numbers, had that event in there. Normally, it was in July in years past. Now, so this is all just a snapshot of consumer spending. It doesn't include things like travel, hotel stays. There's only actually one services category listed in this reporting, and that's restaurants. And they actually had a 0.5% increase in their spending there on the retail side. So the weak retail sales numbers, giving more inflationary data and more data, at least on the economy here. And I will tell you this, before we move on to some individual company stories here, is now the trend is going towards, instead of an interest rate boost coming up from the Fed in September's meeting, well, now people are jumping on the bandwagon and favoring no changes coming up, with the CPI, the PPI numbers being weaker than we thought they would be, retail sales as well. People are betting now no increase in the monetary policy coming up in September. Now, it ebbs and flows. That's where we stand as of today as well. And I don't know if you guys have been following the story of flock cameras out there. It's more, political side. Do you surveil your people? Do you not surveil your people? It's coming out that it's more than just looking at license plates, right? They can track you as a person with your facial recognition through your cameras. All of that's the conversations happening out there. And a lot of cities here in the Valley, Queen Creek or Pinal County, said they're not going to use them anymore. Another city, I think it was Chandler, said they're going to cancel the contract. Some cities here, like Apache Junction, doubling down on the use of the flock cameras. Well, flock safety, they came out and announced an overhaul to its privacy and security measures. They announced all this yesterday. And of course, they're doing it because of the growing backlash from consumers. And the thing that's most concerning about this, and why Chandler quit using them, reports of law enforcement abuse. Yeah, people abusing the surveillance, right? Tracking ex-girlfriends in the case of Apache Junction, in the case of Chandler, and nobody being punished other than losing their jobs, right? That's highly illegal to use these services in any way other than law enforcement side. And of course, police officers get away with it. As public backlash to the company's growing network of automated license plate readers, those ALPRs you might hear them referred to, well, it's continuing to increase and pressure's being put on them, which is why Flock has come out and announced this new set of reforms. And of course, it looks at enhancing privacy protections, strengthening the control for law enforcement and for offices. And they say there's enhanced accountability measures being put into these cameras as well. Well, so they first came out and announced yesterday that Flock is reducing its standard retention window. So they were keeping 30 days of data. Well, now it's only going to be 7 days of data. All data captured by one of the company's more than 119,000 cameras throughout the United States. Well, they say it was deleted after the 30-day window. They claim it was. Well, the company announced that they're only going to be only live on Flock servers for that 7-day window moving forward. Now, of course, there's a caveat to this. Don't tell me this won't be abused. Law enforcement agencies, well, they often respond to privacy-concerned citizens by explaining that the Flock systems help them catch criminals. Yeah. Flock said that 90% of all searches using its product happen within a week anyway, seemingly keeping the privacy reform consistent with law enforcement priorities. Right? Now, they claim all this. But then why keep it for 30 days originally if most of the data was done before? But here's the side of it. You can get around this here because law enforcement agencies that need more time to investigate, Flock announced the launch of evidence mode is what they're calling it. It's a feature that will allow agencies to preserve data for longer based on state or local policy. Yeah, so you can just put it in evident mode and it'll save the data for as long as they want, apparently. So tell me that's not a workaround to that deal. And now next thing you'll hear is, well, most of our data is deleted in 7 days. Another privacy protection that Flock announced, well, they said they're going to have the ability for agencies to decide which types of criminal offenses they want to share data about with other municipalities. That's one thing about this, right? So let's just throw out city names here, even if they have them or they don't. Queen Creek and Chandler, they just automatically share info back and forth with no questions asked, and you're able to look it up and see it. Well, that's led to Flock coming under fire from privacy advocates and concerned citizens who obviously are worried that Flock will be storing data on servers, not just for those longer than the 7 days now, but also between municipalities. So you driving from Queen Creek to Chandler, you're being tracked that whole way across it, allegedly, right? And now it's being kept. Well, the ACLU on a Thursday statement after this announcement by Flock, they say that Flock's reforms, quote, seem to be a thinly veiled PR attempt to counter communities' genuine privacy concerns with its mass surveillance system with largely hollow security premises, rather than an earnest effort to address them. I don't agree with the ACLU too often, but I agree with the ACLU 1,000% here as well. Now, a lot of this backlash, well, it's been fueled by reports of police abusing the technology to stalk romantic partners. We know that was the case in a couple cities here in town. And now these latest reforms, well, they seek to proactively prevent abuse of its cameras. So they released a framework called Audit Assistance, and that flags abnormal search behavior. How do you know it's abnormal if they're just looking, if they can say they're looking for a suspect, right? Now, the feature was optional before, but Flock reporting that a third of agencies turned it on. But now they say Flock is making the standard for every law enforcement customer, and when the system detects abnormal activity, the user is locked out in real time until an administrator reviews the searches. Flock is moving to more proactively address the root out of the misuse of the technology. When the police are illegally searching the technology, it's not good, folks. Can it get more simple than that, right, in the world? And they're acting like, oh, we should probably stop that. Yeah, Flock says they'll require a reason for every search going forward. You have to put in a case number or something to move forward and stuff to that effect. How untrustworthy is this, whether you believe in Flock or you don't, because they say they've caught people and things? Okay. How unsafe is it, though? The police are using it in methods it shouldn't be being used. If the people charged to protect us from crime are using it illegally, what? Anyway, I digress on my Flock announcement there. Let's move over to Tyson Foods here. They announced that earlier today, or yesterday, I should say, yesterday afternoon. It's Friday today, and yesterday was Thursday. They say they're going to close 2 facilities. They're going to pursue the sale of a third facility. It's all making strategic changes to its beef business. And why? Well, lack of cows out there, folks. The company will end operations in its Jocelyn, Illinois beef plant, and over here in the west side of the country, Eagle Mountain, Utah, as well. They're pursuing the sale of its Pasco, Washington beef facility, and as well. So they're making these moves because recent data shows continuing limited heifer retention. Well, that's a sign that tight cattle supplies are going to continue to persist out there. We know we're at record levels in cattle supplies out there, which is why all of our beef prices are through the roof. Now, capacity from the Illinois and Utah facilities, that's going to be shifted to other Tyson locations that will have ample capacity to grow. Tyson also plans to ramp a second shift back up at its Amarillo, Texas plant as more cattle become available to be processed by them as well. So now Tyson Foods does say it'll support employees affected by these closures. Now, the big problem here, though, as we know, the U.S. cattle herd has fallen to those historically low levels due to drought, reducing forage areas, and key ranching reasons, just not being able to replenish cows, disease, etc. out there. Yeah, cows aren't having as many cow babies, and that's causing the problems out there as well. And we know that because that's why beef prices have been through the roof here and over the last couple years. They're not going down anytime soon either, at least that we're seeing out there with reporting. And then this is an interesting thing. You read a lot about debanking these days. And we find out today JP Morgan Chase wants their cake and eat it too here, right? But we found out that they terminated its banking relationship with Polymarket. This is one of those prediction market companies, Polymarket and Kalshi, for instance. Well, Polymarket's the Kalshi competitor. Now, they debanked them last year over regulatory concerns. We get this from the Financial Times reporting here this week. JP Morgan notified the Polymarket that it needed to find a new bank in October, citing people that didn't want to identify is where the Financial Times got us this information. Polymarket's now working with a new lender, but nobody has identified the new lender as of yet. A representative for J.P. Morgan did decline to comment, but Polymarket, well, they didn't immediately respond to requests for the comment from the Financial Times, but they did send a statement to the Financial Times that says it continues to maintain a, quote, close, active relationship with J.P. Morgan across multiple entities, operational integrations, and even material handling of customer fund flows. Why is it interesting they don't want to do banking with them anymore, but they want a close relationship with them? Yeah, because JP Morgan wants their cake and eat it too. JP Morgan's retaining some ties to Polymarket, that company, because it looks to leave the door open for an underwriting role should Polymarket go public. Yeah, that's you can't have it both ways. But it is interesting with this state lawsuits and being federally regulated, state lawsuits against these types of companies that we do find out debanking last year from at least J.P. Morgan. And J.P. Morgan has done a lot of debanking over the years with Trump's businesses, and we know about a few more when the water gets hot here for this for J.P. Morgan. They do tend to run from certain companies and industries out there, and a lot of bad news over the last week, and we know Meta's in the middle of this lawsuit in California over the being sued for getting kids addicted to them and things to that effect. We had the story yesterday on how they had to kick off a bunch of underage accounts because of Australia's laws against young kids being on their platform and kind of the abuse that Meta does to them, at least according to Australia. Well, let's get to some good news here from Meta, and they're partnering with North American Building Trades Unions. That's the NABTU. NAB2 is what we're going to call them here. Now, they're working together because they're going to expand the pipeline of skilled workers needed to build and maintain America's rapidly growing AI infrastructure. So just keep this in mind, folks. If you have young kids coming out for trade schools, etc., that's an option here for you to join up with. This partnership was announced earlier this week. It's going to give Meta access to NAB2's network of apprenticeship and even training programs while helping connect skilled trade workers with Meta projects across the United States. As we know, demand for skilled trade workers has grown exponentially over the last several years. Tech companies are investing in these data centers and other infrastructure needed to power the AI systems, and you can't get enough trade work out there. The demand's being felt along a range of trades: HVAC technicians, laborers, operating engineers, everything having to do with a building, but even a bigger size with the size of these AI databases. NAB2 represents more than 3.2 million skilled craft professionals in the U.S. and Canada through an alliance of 14 national and international unions out there. Now, the unions and contractor partners, they operate more than 1,900 apprenticeship and training facilities across North America. They even invest more than $3 billion annually in training and education as well. So NAB2 has roughly 300,000 people enrolled in its registered apprenticeship system right now as well. So wanted to just make you all aware. It's right. If you're looking for a career change, you like to be hands-on, or like I said, young people looking for, what to do with their future selves out there, just another trade option for you to look at moving forward and getting in with some big companies if you go that route as well. And when we come back here on this Friday edition of McCollum on Business, we keep the show rolling. That's right. Local stories coming your way. Waymo. Well, it's Waymo, I should say. It's expanding. Coming up here in the city. It's getting closer to my house, folks. But you Westsiders still have to wait a little bit. We'll tell you about their new service area, plus a lot more, including a couple food stories coming your way to wrap up the week, folks. Come on back. It's McCollum on Business, Friday edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business. A little behind the scenes here. I was just listening to Ethan choke to death back there in the production room, coming back from that break as well. And folks, today is Friday, which means the Real Matrix coming your way here just in a little bit. 12 o'clock today, a new episode coming out, a Fauci episode. It's going to be 2 weeks coming up of around Dr. Fauci. And of course, he's in the news right now with his congressional non-testimony last week. And of course, his text messages and emails coming your way. The Fauci episodes here starting today at noon, this week and next week. Catch it on Rumble, exclusively on Rumble, as well as over on your favorite podcast systems as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, I'm forgetting them all. Just search The Angry Patriot The Real Matrix, Angry Patriot, something in that category pops right up for you there on your favorite podcast systems. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find all of our programming as well. Noon today for that. All of our programming, including the pit stop. Look back at last weekend's racings ahead to this weekend coming up here. IndyCar's up in outside of Toronto and Markham this weekend. And the Truck Series on Friday night here tonight for the NASCAR Series. Cup Series Saturday night racing as well coming your way as well. They're on the short track at Richmond coming up. Check out the pit stop on demand on Rumble as well. Free podcast for that, right? Just search the pit stop with Steven and it pops right up for you. The actual handle is the Pit Stop Talk, like X handle there. Follow us on X as well for the racing side of our programming. And then, of course, we're live here right now on YouTube. And then as soon as we're done here, right into the main event, 8 to 10 a.m., live on YouTube as well. TME Media AZ on YouTube. Well, as soon as we're done with the live stuff, we get it uploaded into the on-demand side over on Rumble as well. All the programming on Rumble, all the programming except for the Real Matrix over on YouTube. As soon as we're done live here. Join us every Monday through Friday, as long as markets are open at 7 a.m. for this show, McCollum on Business. 8 to 10 for the main event as well. We appreciate y'all joining us live and catching us on demand as well. Every show has a podcast version except for McCollum on Business here. So check it out on your favorite podcast system. If you'd rather listen to it while you're driving around, I know a lot of you do that aspect of it as well. And we're working on some things here to have a live broadcast go out with an app on your phone. For those of you that'd like to listen to us while you're driving around, it's because you can't watch, obviously, while you're driving. We have those, we're playing around with that, trying to figure it out and get it to work properly to our satisfaction. So hopefully that's coming up soon. And with all that being said, folks, don't forget to follow TME Media AZ on X as well. And let's get right back into that Market Watch. Well, everything's turned a little negative on us here. As days gone on, except for that Russell 2K. Well, the Dow Jones right now down 70 points. The S&P 500's down the 9. NASDAQ's down 61 points as we look at it right now. The Russell 2K, well, it's up 11 points for that small cap index, the only one staying positive for us. The Bitcoin still down as well, dropped under 63,000, 62,603 for Bitcoin here this morning as well. Well, stocks we're paying attention to. The first one, Applied Materials out there. Semiconductor equipment maker is what this company does. 3.96% down right now. Well, their quarter two results failed to impress anybody out there on the market. They earned an adjusted $3.50 per share. Yeah, they had revenue of $9.12 billion. Sales within its key semiconductor systems division, it came in at $7.04 billion. Well, that was only slightly above the consensus number of $6.96 billion. Disappointing numbers, at least disappointing the market out there, 3.81% down for Applied Materials. Then we got Fox Corporation. You know them, the media company, 4.66% up here today. They got upgrades from J.P. Morgan and even Wells Fargo. Their investment banks came out, and their analysts said both of their analysts said that the momentum of buying Roku, which Fox is acquiring for $22 billion, that's why they're upgrading here by those two major banks. They're expecting Roku to be a huge improvement here and success story for Fox Corporation coming up. And then there's SanDisk out there. This is an interesting one because I was just doing some quick research yesterday. SanDisk is up 500% in this year, folks. We knew it was up and they had some up and down wild days, but yeah, 500% up this year alone. Right now it's up 7.14% as well. Well, when you're 7% up, when your stock's trading at $1,636, well, that means you're up $106 for the day as well. So if you just had one share in that, enjoy your $100 improvement as well. Well, J.P. Morgan analysts upgraded the stock to overweight. It was at neutral before. Here's the quote from the reporting. SanDisk's new business model long-term agreements have structurally reset its margin profile higher and materially reduce cyclicality by converting the majority of its business into long-dated, high-margin, take-or-pay style revenue, unquote. What that means is they have so many deals in place for the long term with price increases, etc., that they are set for sales and margins and everything for a long period of time. So they're not going to be going backwards at all anytime soon in terms of sales and revenue and profits, etc. That's why they're up 6.37% today. SanDisk is as well. So, I mean, but like I said, for the year, monumental increase for them as well. Now let's get into some local stories that you guys need to know out there. You Waymo lovers, if you travel around, you don't like Uber, you don't like Lyft. Well, Waymo announced yesterday that it's expanding its service here in the Valley, there in the Phoenix area, bringing the company's total autonomous ride-hailing service area here in the Phoenix area. Well, it's going to be 350 square miles now. They're adding several East Valley neighborhoods, Gilbert, Chandler, Santan Ranch, yet they're all now included in the coverage area. The updates mean there will be 55 square miles of new service area for them. Now, you would ask, why did they stretch out into the Santan Ranch area? That's very simple, folks. Williams Gateway Airport, Mesa Gateway Airport is in that area. So they are now extending out to the Mesa Gateway Airport. It'll soon be added to the coverage area. They're going that way, and it's in that blue area. It's right outside that blue area right now, I should say. But they're moving that way. They got to get this new area all figured out first, I'm assuming. But that another airport there will soon be added to the coverage area. Well, so that's going to give Waymo, the city of Phoenix, I should say, with the most airport access to Waymo in the world, meaning, right, our two major airports involved in that. Phoenix Sky Harbor, Scottsdale Air Park, they're already covered for Waymo riders, and then you add the Gateway Airport that's soon going to be online, but that's why you got that little stretch down at the bottom there. You see me pointing at the screen for you. I don't know why I'm doing that. Is it's going towards the airport out there as well. So big changes for Waymo expanding their coverage wrap. And the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway Company, we haven't talked about them in a while. That's the BNSF. They announced more frequent service between Phoenix and Dallas. Yeah, they said all this in a release that they put out. BNSF said the expansion lays the groundwork for the railways, that new intermodal facility that they're building up there in Whitman that we haven't talked about in a while, but it is still being built. BNSF said they are increasing their freight service frequency between Phoenix and Dallas due to the increased demand that is happening. Now, the railway did not specify how frequently the previous schedule ran, but the expanded service will run 6 days a week coming up. BNSF says the route takes just over 3 days to complete. The enhanced service is designed to convert freight truck traffic to rail. Get those trucks off the street is what they're off the freeways is what they're trying to do. The expanded service lays the groundwork for additional growth and capacity here in Arizona. BNSF is in the process of building that, Whitman facility that we'll call controversial. That might be too easy of a statement there as well. But the first phase is expected to open in early 2027 up there in Whitman, expanding the thing. Means more jobs up there in that area with this train station coming here. And BNSF using Arizona, at least North Phoenix area there outside of Whitman, as a big growth area as well. And you drive around the streets. It was funny driving in today. Ethan commented, "Why are the roads so bumpy in certain parts of the airport area that we're in right now?" Well, in a new report by the American Society of Civil Engineers, they looked at all 50 states out there, and Arizona earned a C. Yeah, it's the same rating that they last did back in 2020. We had a C then as well. They looked at 11 infrastructure areas. They found transportation, drinking, and wastewater, even public service systems. They're in big needs of improvement here in Arizona. Arizona bridges actually earned the highest grade. We have good bridges with a B+. Roads that had the lowest ratings were rated a D+ there. So no F roads here in Arizona. The report found much of it has to do with the state's growing population. Of course, there are hotter temperatures this time of year. They say more frequent wildfires and prolonged drought conditions are big reasons for our challenges with our infrastructure as well. Then they said also persistent funding shortfalls at the state level, leading to some of our infrastructure problems. Well, besides closing the funding gap, which would be a big part of this, the report's authors recommend updating and maintaining existing infrastructure. Obviously, that's an easy thing to say. But how do we rate in all 11 categories? Aviation, B. Bridges, B+, as I already told you. Dams, interesting here, right? Because the Canyon Lake Dam there is about to be drained here coming up in September for what is about a 16-week inspection for that. C- for dams. Drinking water, C-. That's kind of scary, right? Energy is a C. Levies a C. Rail a C. Roads, as I said, D+ here for overall. Stormwater, C-. Transit, C. Wastewater, also a C. That's where we get our C average rating there in that reporting. So we need infrastructure improvements. It's not a shocker here coming up, and staying on top of it is kind of a hard thing for people to do. And if I told you, what is America's favorite sandwich? Just off the top of your head, what would you say? Because I actually would have said, even though I do not like them, I refuse to eat them. I don't like them at all. Thank God I don't live in Philadelphia where they're everywhere. But I would have actually said that the thing that was voted number one would probably win that. There were weeks of voting. Regional food rivalries happened. Dogs and cats were enemies, were friends. It was a whole thing out there. Hellmann's has crowned America's favorite sandwich officially now. So Hellmann's is a mayonnaise brand, if you don't know. They created a nationwide bracket featuring sandwiches representing all 50 states, all part of its celebration of the nation's 250th birthday that we're having this year. More than 10,000 sandwich fans participated in the voting, 100,000 votes about throughout the competition. So the bracket turned regional favorites, into national food showdowns as time went on. Foods backing sandwiches that represent their home states and local food traditions of their areas. So what finished number one? Philadelphia's Philly cheesesteak. Yeah, came out on top. With Cheese Whiz on top. Only way to eat it with Cheese Whiz. Yeah, so Pennsylvania there gets the bragging rights to what Hellmann's is calling America's sandwich. I'm not a cheesecake guy, but I actually agree with this. If I think sandwich, I think Philly's cheesesteak in terms of national branding and stuff to that effect. The competition ultimately came down to a matchup between the cheesecake and Kansas's burnt end sandwich, with the two battling it out for the championship. The Kansas entry featured burnt ends. That's a barbecue staple, if you don't know, associated with Kansas City. Pennsylvania, obviously, cheesecake with no other option to go there. The contest began with 50 sandwiches divided into 4 regional brackets: the Midwest, West, Northeast, and South. Over 5 rounds of voting, the field was narrowed from 50 sandwiches to 16, and then they progressed through the Savory 16, Exquisite 8, Flavorful 4, and then, of course, the final chowdown where the Philly cheesesteak was named. So the other Elite 8 sandwiches: Nevada's Patty Melt, which is pretty dang good, folks. Texas Chopped Brisket Sandwich. New Jersey's Italian Subs. Illinois' Italian Beef out there, which is a pretty big staple there for Illinois. Alabama's Pulled Chicken with white sauce. And then California in the final 8 there. I don't agree with this at all. Tuna salad. Yeah, from California. How did that get to the 8? There you go, folks. Arizona sandwich didn't make it. Didn't make it to where we needed it to be out there. And there you go. Philly cheesesteak. Celebrate with a cheesesteak today if you're so inclined as well. And then finally, right, we got a couple months here till Halloween, even though Spirit Halloween is telling us it's coming now as their stores are starting to open. But Reese's Peanut Butter Pumpkins are officially returning for Halloween this year. This is all after a year ago when a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit alleging Hershey misled customers about the candy's appearance. Do you remember this lawsuit? So on the bag, they have the smiley faces on them for the pumpkins. Then you got into the candy and they were missing the smiley faces, the pumpkin faces on them. So a lawsuit actually enshrined from that, saying misleading information out there. Judge threw it out, allowing them to come back now. The Hershey Company included Reese's Peanut Butter Pumpkins among its returning Halloween favorites that it unveiled for this year's Hershey-ween lineup. It includes more than 20 new and returning products, everything from chocolate to the salty snacks that Hershey's does as well. Now, this lawsuit, if you don't remember, filed in Florida, entered that pumpkins and several other Reese's products, things like the peanut butter ghosts, bats, footballs, snowmen, and bells. The plaintiffs in that lawsuit that was dismissed alleged the packaging showed chocolates with detailed designs that wasn't on the actual candy when you looked it up. I actually agree with this. I don't know if I'd go to a lawsuit, but isn't it disappointing when you open it up and you don't have the pumpkin face on the candy? I think it's kind of disappointing. I'm not going to sue over it, but I think it's kind of disappointing, that you're looking at. Yeah. Hershey actually argued in this lawsuit that reasonable customers would understand the images as suggestions and pointed to a decorating suggestion disclaimer on the packaging. And Hershey's also argued customers received exactly what they paid for, Reese's candies that were not defective or inedible. And the lawsuit got tossed last September, allowing for this to come back as well. Yeah. So you have the peanut butter pumpkins as a returning favorite here coming up this year. Now, Hershey says Reese's is the brand of choice for 37% of consumers. Reese's Pumpkins are the favorite Halloween product from about 22% of consumers in their reporting. They introduced Reese's Pumpkin Bowl exclusively on Amazon that features 110 snack-sized treats and a reusable pumpkin-shaped container, coming out this year. Their broader Halloween lineup includes new Jolly Rancher gummies, Kit Kat count and witches shapes, Hershey's Cookies and Cream Fangs, and 18-count Hershey Halloween All-Star Assortments are other things they're coming out with here for this 2026 Halloween year as well by Hershey's coming up. Now, I would argue, with that lawsuit is, like I said, I don't know if I would sue over it, although it is kind of disappointing in my eyes to not have, the pictures on there. But I'll say this, they certainly ruined it because last year we didn't get these candy treats while the lawsuits were going through. Oh, so we get them back this year as well, which is fantastic to see out there coming our way. Ethan, on the YouTube chat during the show, anytime on the live feed, join us on the YouTube chat. Of course, if you're catching us on demand, you can always chat up there as well and leave your comments. We do see them off air as well. And Ethan says there's a website that you can go to that have you miss all the flock cameras on the road. Reroute out of the way of the flock cameras, basically, is what he said. I know, I saw that. And somebody in New York City, Manhattan, was showing that there's no way you can avoid a flock camera there. They have so many there. It was an interesting little agreement there as well. And says the peanut butter to chocolate ratio is not correct, so I do not eat the pumpkins. I actually agree with you on that. And so does Autumn. Autumn chimed in and said, I'm with you, Ann. That's the thing. You need a good ratio, right? It's like the nacho to cheese ratio. I don't need one or the other. I want a good mixture of it. Yeah, he says, I will stick to the cups or even the Reese's sticks coming up there as well. I actually generally don't go for the Halloween stuff. I just know that if I opened up a package of pumpkins and it was just a pumpkin with no face when the package shows a cool little face on it, I just could see that being a letdown. Again, not enough to sue, but I could see that being a letdown out there. Folks, I appreciate you joining me here for this week's Friday edition of McCollum on Business. Been here all week as well. Miss anything? Curious about some stories? Well, all on demand here as well. Here on YouTube and over on Rumble as well. We'll see you on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Main events coming up next, folks. Don't forget to check out the Pit Stop Racing Friday night and Saturday coming up here for NASCAR and IndyCar this weekend as well up in Toronto areas, where Ontario province up there. We'll see you later, folks. See you on Monday. Come and join us on the main event. Have a great Friday and have a great weekend.